Hey everybody, this is Paul, and I'm with Danny, and Danny has asked me to take Kay to my house, so we are gonna move it, Scott and I'm excited. So Danny, what do you recommend? How should we move this plant? What do you think?
Well, that's gonna take a couple guys, first of all. And second of all, before you move it, it might be a really good idea to kind of wrap it, maybe with some bamboo, and then on top of that, a packing blanket.
Okay, like a nice thick blanket?
Correct.
That's a good idea.
You wanna create almost like a catacomb around this plant.
Right.
Because you don't want to break off all the arms and all the new juvenile growth. And you know, the plant's been growing for well over 7-8 years now. Additionally, I don't recommend taking it out the field that way. I do recommend taking it out the field this way.
So we should probably cut your fence.
You're gonna have to cut this fence along up here, and once you've wrapped it, move the fence, bring your truck real close as you can, and then 3 or 4 guys hump it up on top of the truck.
Hey everybody, this is Paul, and today we are moving Kay. So I think our plan of attack is where I believe we can pull out this whole plant. There's actually 2 cuttings in here. So we'll pull out this whole plant, shouldn't need much support, and then we're gonna have to definitely prune these pieces out here, and thin it out. Now, the good news is it looks quite large, but it's not as large as you think because there's a sugar dragon over there on the left. So there's actually like 3 plants here and 2 are Kay, it looks like, and 2 of them are in 1 pot. But either way, we're gonna definitely have to remove some cuttings, and this is a pretty heavy plant. Ugh. So we have our work cut out for us. So let's get to work, Scott. Let's see what we can do. All right, so we can't pull it down the field, so we're gonna have to cut the fence here and take it out this way. So it's gonna be a lot easier. We did remove that first half, and it was actually connected to the mother plant, so it's gonna be actually a cutting. It had no roots, and the piece is huge. We'll show you that here in a minute. But it's a lot more work than we intended, but we're gonna get this thing done. So let me cut this fence and get to work.
Where are we at?
Well, we got it almost out of the fence, so we've pruned back a lot, you can see, and we've had to take off some big pieces, but the part that was the biggest challenge was actually that there's a double dragon here. Check it out. So look at it. This was actually one branch that split into twins.
And intertwined in the other trellis.
Yeah, our other Kay, I have a Kay cutting that did the same thing, but this had gotten stuck onto the sugar dragon trellis, so that was the biggest challenge. But we figured it out. All right, so this is gonna be the biggest cutting I've ever tried to root. You can see it's huge. And we thought that this was a separate part of Kay, but this was one big branch off of the lower stem.
Yeah, literally like it was shooting off below the dirt.
Below the dirt line. So it's huge though, so we'll get it to root, and then you can see we also got this out and wrapped up a bit. And I think it's gonna do fine. 2 of us are gonna lift it into a truck bed, and we're gonna get it over to my house and put it into its new home. And I think I'll probably have to root this one in my greenhouse or something. But this one should be good to go. It's got enough roots that we were able to save. So it's gonna go right into a 25-gallon pot with a trellis. So I have it ready to go. Hopefully I won't fall. It's definitely a lot bigger than it looks. It's not too heavy. Put it down gently and tie it down a little bit, and we should be good to go. All right, that was easier than I thought. it here, we got it transported safely, intact, and we're gonna put it into that pot. So let's do it, Scott.
Yeah.
You got the back, I'll take the front. Alright, ready? It's gonna go towards you. Now, there. Get it under the support, that rebar, see it? Okay. Alright, now, let's pull out this wood. It's gonna come up straight. Alright, take it. There we go. Alright, so now, we'll probably just support it, tie it up, and then I'm gonna have to cut out the wood. But you can definitely see that it's gonna be supported, and it really kind of puts my trellis design to the challenge, you know? I'm making sure that, I'm glad I used 200 pounds of concrete and some 1/2 inch rebar for this, so. All right, so we got it up, and I think we have minimal damage loss, I guess you could say. Check it out. That's what we lost down there. So not too bad in the scheme of things. And I don't know if I'm gonna get my metal top up here ever. I think I'm gonna tie it up and train it a bit more and prune it back some more. But what I'm gonna do for sure is I'm gonna cover it with burlap for about 2 weeks to just give it some sun protection. I know that it was in full sun, but I think just the transition period is gonna need a little bit of protection.
Little
That's the
shock.
plan.
Little shock right now,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'm sure it's in a bit of shock just from the big move. We destroyed its root ball, and
Let's get the full view.
it's big. I mean, I think honestly we got up a lot more than I thought we could. So I want to say thanks to Scott, and definitely thanks to Justin.
Yeah,
and
thanks,
borrowing his
Justin.
truck. I don't think we could have done it without a trailer. I think it would have gotten a lot more damaged.
I agree.
No problem.
So,
All right.
all right, that's where we're at, and we'll give you an update in a few weeks. But I'm tired. We're gonna get out of the sun. It's hot. Good morning. This is Paul, and I'm gonna do a 1-day update on moving K. So you can see here, I've covered it with burlap just to keep it from getting sun stressed or sunburn from the move. You know, I'm sure the transition was big for it and then probably hard on the plant, but these things are tough and resilient. So let me go ahead and remove the burlap so you could get a better view of it and what I'm gonna do now. So there it is in the early morning sunlight. What a beautiful plant. It's much more bluish green, kind of olive color when you look at it compared to other dragon fruit. Not so much with the sugar dragons, but man, when it's in front of the bamboo, it definitely looks more blue. But I am colorblind, so maybe it's just that. Anyways, a couple things I want to talk about today is, look, in the move, some branches broke, so you definitely want to just prune them back, preferably at a 45. There we go. Bit better, not perfect. But what you want to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put hydrogen peroxide on all of these wounds. So right here, you can see that in the move it's split here, which I definitely think that it's still going to grow. It's fine, it's just a mild split, and it will heal itself and continue to grow. But I also had to tip a few branches because they were touching the ground, and then some wounds here. So I'm just gonna go through the whole plant, and anywhere where I saw some damage, I'm gonna go ahead and put hydrogen peroxide. So I like to use the Target 3%er. That stuff works pretty well for me. You can see here. And then what I like to use are Q-tips. So I'll show you how I do that now, and let's clean up this plant to make sure we can hopefully keep any infection off of it. So here it is, just a nice amount of hydrogen peroxide. And even on a branch like this, you probably could just get away with this. You don't want to get it into the soil, so that would work as well. But again, you do want to get your hydrogen peroxide into your soil if possible. Where's that big crack? Oh, here it is. Let's go ahead and take care of this one. Now this is a different Q-tip. But hydrogen peroxide will clean out the wound, and in my experience, it will promote the plant, to heal quicker and callus over, which is a great thing. So here's another example of something you really want to care for. A big wound like that, you don't want it to rot. So I'm gonna just continue to go through this plant and make sure I heal up any wounds that I could find. You can see one down there. I think that's gonna be really helpful in the long run and keep this plant really healthy. Now in addition, let me go show you what I did with that other really big cutting that was on the other side of this plant. I'll show you how I'm gonna root that. So here are a few more pieces that I'm rooting. Now luckily it's warm enough this time of year for me to root them in pots. And then I have this really huge branch. What I'm actually gonna do, as you can see there, I use just a little bit of coconut coir, and it's sitting on some bark. And I know we're not gonna get any rain for a while, so hopefully it will root this way. I'm gonna put some rooting powder onto that coconut coir, and that should work not a problem. The key is you don't want a really big cutting like this to start rotting at the base, especially with all that weight on it. So a lot of the plant is being supported by this big bamboo stick. So I'm actually going to tie it up a little bit more just to get some weight off of this giant cutting, because this is definitely the largest cutting I've ever tried to root, and I want it to be successful. So I could put it in the greenhouse. I may do that, but right now I just feel like this is gonna help it and it's gonna do fine. So we'll see in a few weeks if this is successful. Definitely gets a lot of shade right here, so it's really happy. All right, there it is. There is the update for Kay. Give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll keep them coming. And honestly, I don't feel like moving another dragon fruit plant anytime soon. That was quite a bit of work. But you can see, I think it was definitely worth the effort. Now, I have my own Kay right around here too. You can see it was a cutting back in November 2019. So it's not a slouch. It definitely will grow pretty quick. There it is. And hopefully this one will produce some fruit this season. Good morning, fellow gardeners. It's been about 2 weeks since we moved Kay, this dragon fruit. It's a Hylocereus costarricensis hybrid, and it's doing great. So I removed the burlap, as you can see, and it seems like it's doing just fine. Now there is a little bit of yellowing over here, as you can see, probably because this branch was upside down, and now its bottom side is facing up since the move. But I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm sure it's gonna heal itself up and do fine. This is a very tough dragon fruit variety in my experience so far. So you can see I've tied up everything. I've cleaned up everything with rubbing actually hydrogen peroxide, sorry. And I've cleaned it up with hydrogen peroxide, like here you can see. It's really healing nicely. So I expect to see some new growth here soon, or at least I hope to see some new growth here. But this variety is kind of a slower to wake up. And in my experience, Hylocereus costarricensis tends to be slower to wake up in our climate in Southern California, but they will grow longer into the season. So they're sort of late to wake up, but they'll continue to grow until late into the season, into the fall. So you can see it's gone into the bamboo already since we moved it. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I've tipped some branches, but not too many. And I just wanna let this plant be. I want it to thrive. And you can see, I need to actually cut that zip tie. But you can see I haven't watered it at all in about 2 weeks. So I'm gonna water it tomorrow, because hopefully that big giant branch that we cut off, it's somewhere under the soil, and I didn't want it to rot. So you can see I have all the soil. It's just nice, slightly moist down there if you look, a little bit. But I'm gonna give it a good deep watering this weekend, so probably in 2 more days. So let's go check out that big giant branch and see how that's doing. Did it get some damage? Is it rotting, or is it okay? So here it is. Might trim off a few more branches just because it's so large and heavy. You can see it's doing quite well. Now down here, I've actually applied some earthworm castings to see if that's gonna help it root. And I've watered it once. So I just water it really lightly on the flesh. And I'm hoping it's gonna shoot some roots onto this coconut coir here and the earthworm castings. And then I'll just dig it out with a shovel and move it onto the trellis. So that's my plan. I was gonna put it into the greenhouse, but it seems like it's doing really well here. We don't expect any rain. Otherwise I'd definitely move it because I don't want this to sit on saturated soil. So that's the plan with this really large cutting here. Sorry, I have Hana in my back. Get off my back, Hana. There we go. You can just see it's really big, really healthy, and I expect that this thing is going to root. All right, let's look at Hana real quick. This thing is on my back. Come on, Hana. But definitely this is a vigorous growing variety as well. So hopefully you have Hana. All right, there you go. There's the update on K. Give us a like and a subscribe, and hopefully we'll get this big thing rooted soon. All right, thanks for your time. Have a wonderful day. Take care.